Revealed, 5 incredible secrets to living younger and transforming your life forever. Every dawn, Sarah's alarm clock buzzed like a battle call. She would rise before the sun graced the quaint Midwest town, the aroma of pancakes and bacon coaxing her into the diner, a second home where everyone knew her name and the details of her life story. With every check she handed over, she felt like an artist under scrutiny, her canvas painted with dreams she had once held close, but now felt like wisps of steam rising from a mug of coffee evaporating with each interaction. On a rain-soaked Tuesday afternoon, as the thunder rolled in like her surging emotions, a figure pushed through the door, the man she'd grown up wishing would return. Her father. It was as if the air tightened around her throat, squeezing the breath from her lungs. A Vietnam veteran, more ghost than man in her memory, he stood awkwardly among her patrons, searching for something in her eyes that she was unwilling to give. "Dad?" The word slipped from her mouth like a secret too heavy to bear. The room went silent, the warmth of the diner suddenly feeling like a cold judgmental stare. Despite years of absence, memories collided in her mind, the bedtime stories, the promises of adventures that never came. How could he just show up now? The townsfolk wouldn't let this moment slide by without their commentary, and she could practically hear their whispers already. Yet he stumbled through a shaky introduction, revealing an inside human etched with experiences that pulled at her heart in ways she didn't understand. "Sarah," he started, his voice gravelly like the gravel roads they had once walked together. "I'm sorry." The weight of his words hit her like a freight train, unlocking 5 incredible truth stories of resilience, courage, love, and regret. She listened, each tale a tiny flicker in the storm of her heart, illuminating the darkness that had long overshadowed her life. In that moment, she discovered fragments of her father reflected in herself, a woman facing battles against the odds, raising her 2 children solo, molding their dreams out of the mortar of her own heartbreak. He spoke of the jungle and the horrors of war, and with each revelation, something within her began to stir. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The annual community festival was just around the corner, a celebration that was the heartbeat of their town. It had the potential to lift her from the weight of past sorrows. But as the festival approached, the whispers in town grew louder, buzzing like hornets. Her father's return sparked old prejudices that threatened to shatter her fragile resilience, recalling the judgment of those who thought they knew the whole story. As the festival fireworks painted the night sky, she stood at a crossroads, her father at one edge of the revelry, and the festering resentment tightly wound in her chest. The tension escalated, and it put her newfound determination to the test. Would she let the chains of bitterness hold her captive forever, or would she find the strength to forgive? With the festival in full swing, the choice weighed heavy on her heart. In that vibrant sea of lights and laughter, one question lingered in the air: would Sarah reclaim her narrative and dare to step into the hope of reconciliation, or would the echoes of the past keep her shackled in silence? Sarah's heart raced as she watched the colorful lights burst across the night sky, illuminating faces filled with laughter and joy. It was a stark contrast to the turmoil inside her. The scent of cotton candy mixed with hints of popcorn and fried dough wafted through the air, but even the sweet smells couldn't mask the bitterness that sat like a stone in the pit of her stomach. She stirred her way through the crowd, her mind a whirlwind of doubt and anger. There he was, her father, standing just a few feet away, a lonely figure amidst the colorful festival. The way he clutched a soda can, a play on his awkwardness, reminded her of a child trying to fit in at a playground, lost and uncertain. Every instinct in her begged her to turn away, to drown in her anger while the world around her sang in celebration. But she felt the tug of something deeper, a flicker of empathy, of understanding. A part of her longed to break down those walls she'd built around her heart. Could it be that he had changed, too, after all those years? Taking a deep breath, Sarah found herself gravitating toward him, unsure of what words would escape once she was close enough. The silence between them was palpable, like an unspoken agreement that was hanging on nothing at all. "Hey," she said, her voice barely above the crowd's music and laughter. It felt strange to address him so casually after all this time, the weight of history pressing heavily on her tongue. "Hey," he replied, not looking at her. His eyes were glued to the fireworks, but she caught a glimpse of the longing in his gaze, a wish for a connection that was gnawing at his insides. The fireworks' booms echoed around them, but nothing could drown out the heartbeat of their silence. Then, he turned to face her. "I know this is hard for you. I'm not expecting a miracle tonight." The honesty in his voice broke through the walls she had fortified for so long. They stood there watching the bursts of color, a tapestry of light reflecting the struggle of what had been and what could still be. "I just don't understand why you left," she whispered, tears threatening to spill from her eyes. The years of resentment and hurt danced around them, wanting to steal this moment, but Sarah clung to hope like a lifeboat. "I was lost, Sarah. I was there but not really. I never meant to break us." His voice trembled as he spoke. She could see the cracks in his armor, deep lines of regret etched across his face. "I had to be strong for Mom after you," but the words fell away, the shadows of lost dreams falling in like an echo. "Let me be here now," he said softly, like a plea floating in the sea of commotion surrounding them. "Let me make it right. Just one step at a time." In that moment, the festival seemed to hush, the world narrowing until it was just the two of them under a blanket of stars and untold emotions. Yet, before she could answer, a familiar voice sliced through their sphere, a town gossip, her words dripping with disdain, commenting on Sarah's father's history, the loudness a sharp reminder of the judgment that clung to him like an old coat. The fireworks show seemed to mirror Sarah's own tumultuous thoughts. Would she take that step toward him, despite the noise of others clamoring for her to push away? Sarah felt the walls she had built begin to tremble. In the midst of all this celebration, would she dare to open her heart and step into a new chapter, or would fear win, locking them both in a cycle of pain? As the final firework exploded, scattering stars across the sky, the question lingered: which path would she choose? The air was thick with anticipation, the next heartbeat poised to tilt everything in one direction or another. The crowd erupted into applause as the final firework faded, its shimmer lingering in the night. Sarah felt a crack in her defenses, a moment of clarity amid the chaos surrounding her. All those years of hurt weighed heavy, but so did the longing for connection, a chance at healing that she had never anticipated. "Sarah." Her father's voice cut through the fray, gentle yet urgent. He reached out slightly, as if the simple gesture meant everything. The moment felt suspended, stretching the seconds between them. With the bitter remark still echoing in her mind, Sarah couldn't find her voice, so she simply nodded. She took a step closer, just an inch, but it felt monumental. "Why now?" The words spilled out, raw and unguarded. "I've been thinking about this moment for a long time," he said, glancing nervously around as if searching for validation. "I just didn't know if I deserved a second chance." The rawness of his honesty caught her off guard. Sarah's heart clenched. Could he really mean it? Could he be ready to face the wreckage he'd left behind? The crowd roared with excitement nearby as another vendor called for attention, selling glow-in-the-dark trinkets. Children clamored for cotton candy, but it felt like a world away from her and her father. Here, it was quiet, the chatter and laughter muted as they stood beneath the canopy of stars. "I've missed you," he said softly, finally meeting her gaze. "It surprised me how much I missed you. Not being a part of your life. I never knew it could hurt like this." A lump formed in Sarah's throat. She wanted to scoff, to push him away and let anger take over. Yet, a flicker of warmth ignited inside her. "You didn't even try," she whispered, feeling the weight of so many missed moments and birthdays. "I know," he replied, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "But I want to try now. I want you to see, to feel that it's different. I want to let you down again." They stood in silence, an invisible thread pulling them closer, sharing the struggle of finding new words to replace the bitterness. Maybe, just maybe, healing could be woven into the fabric of their relationship. But the certainty in the air was short-lived, as another voice emerged from the crowd. "Hey, isn't that Ted? Didn't he leave his family behind?" A group of laughing teenagers pointed, their voices laced with judgment. Sarah felt her heart drop. The old wounds throbbed painfully as her father's face paled. The moment of connection was under attack, threatened by those who didn't know their story. She could see the shame creeping back to his features, the urge to retreat. "Let them talk," she said, surprising herself. "You can't let them define you." He stared at her, a mix of gratitude and disbelief in his eyes. Perhaps he thought her hatred too strong, but something had shifted. She was finally standing her ground, and it felt powerful, but just as hope began to blossom, Sarah's phone buzzed in her pocket, a text from her mother lighting up the screen. It was simple but alarming. "Where are you? We need to talk." The weight of the world pressed back in as fear washed over her. How could she choose peace with her father when her past demanded her attention? "Are you okay?" he asked, concern molding his voice. Facing him, the walls Sarah had fought against suddenly surged high. Would she take this step toward understanding or run from the very person offering a glimpse of healing? She hesitated, torn between two worlds that pulled at her heartstrings. The air felt electric, as if the universe awaited her decision. A single word could slice through the silence and reshape everything that came next. Would she embrace the possibility of reconciliation or let the past consume her once again? The silence wrapped around Sarah like a thick fog, heavy and suffocating. She could feel each heartbeat echo in her ears, the tension between her past and her future quaking in the uncertainty of the moment. The message on her phone surfaced again in her mind, each word a lingering reminder that her mom was waiting, fingers tapping with impatience. Every instinct in her screamed to run, to escape this confrontation. But as she looked at her father, standing vulnerable and exposed in a way she had never seen, something flickered within her. Maybe just this once, she could allow herself to be open. "Why should I trust you?" She finally found her voice, steadying herself. "What's changed?" He took a breath, his gaze searching hers as if looking for the right words laid hidden beneath all their history. "I've spent so long being selfish. I took my own fears and regrets, and I let them overshadow everything else, including you. But being away, it changed me. Made me realize what really matters." Sarah felt a mix of anger and hurt at his words, but underneath it all, a sliver of hope remained. "You can't just say that and expect me to believe it." His eyes softened, desperation threading his tone. "I know I can't fix everything overnight. I just want a chance to show you that I'm here now. I've changed." The crowd had begun to disperse, laughter fading into the distance, leaving just the two of them in their fragile bubble. The darkness felt heavy but also safe. In that space, she allowed her feelings to seep through the cracks of her defenses. "You missed so many things: my graduation, my first heartbreak. There are so many pieces ripped away." "I know," he whispered, his voice cracking. "And it pains me. But I want to be part of your life now, if you'll have me. I want to be there for your next steps, whatever they may be." Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes as Sarah realized just how much she longed for that affirmation, a father at her side, supporting her as she stepped into her future. "What if I can't forgive you? What if I'm not ready?" "I'll wait," he stated simply, sincerity radiating from him. "I'll stand here until you can." At that moment, the world shrank down to just them two people caught in the whirlwind of emotions. But the moment shattered as her phone buzzed again, and Sarah's stomach twisted. She glanced down, the screen lighting up to a new message glowing ominously. "I'm serious, Sarah. This can't wait." She flinched, guilt flooding in. What was it now? Another confrontation? More accusations? Her mother's voice echoed in her mind, stern, demanding. Her father noticed the shift in her demeanor. "What is it?" he asked, worry creeping into his expression. She hesitated, feeling the weight of everyone's expectations pulling her down. She looked at him, torn between staying in this fragile moment of possibility and returning to the chaos she knew awaited her. I need to go. Wait, he said quickly, panic coloring his voice. Wait, please. Just tell me one thing before you do. The urgency in his tone caught her off guard. She turned back, curiosity mingled with apprehension. What did he want to ask? In that split second, she realized the enormity of the choice laid before her. Would she confront her mother and all the pain that came with that? Or would she forge ahead into the uncertain terrain of healing with her father beside her? What is it? Sarah asked, her heart racing, caught between the past and a future that twisted away from her grasp. Will you ever come back? The question hung in the air, heavy with possibilities. As Sarah stood on the brink of two worlds, she felt the tide of change ready to pull her either way. What would come next as she made her choice? The air around Sarah felt electric, a tight coil of conflicting emotions. As her father's question lingered between them, it wasn't just about returning physically, it felt like a question about healing her heart, about reconciling a bond fractured by time and silence. I don't know, she finally whispered, her voice thick with sorrow. I can't promise anything. His face fell, the hope in his eyes dimming slightly. I wish I could turn back time. I wish I could show you how different I am now. But Sarah shook her head, grappling with all that had been lost. It's not that easy. You can't take back the hurt or the years. I get that, he replied, frustration creeping in. But I'm standing right in front of you, and I want a chance to prove it. They locked eyes, a silken thread of vulnerability weaving them together momentarily, yet there was still a shadow of hesitation hanging in the air. They'd both been caught up in their own worlds for so long. Now, they were both terrified that they might not know each other at all. Please, he pleaded, his voice softening as he took a slow step closer. I don't expect you to forgive me instantly, but I want to be honest with you this time. The warmth in his voice stirred something within Sarah, pushing her toward that flicker of hope she'd felt before. How do you plan to show me? She asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. By being here, he said, his tone earnest. I want to come to you, at your pace. I'll not rush you. You can guide this. And if I want nothing to do with you? His expression faltered again, but he didn't look away. Then I'll respect it. But I will always be waiting, because you're worth it. His eyes glistened in the fading light, it was a mixture of surrender and sincerity. During those heavy moments, she felt the weight of her mother's looming expectations, still vibrating with anxiety in the back of her mind. But, oddly enough, a small voice deep within stirred, whispering that she could carve out a new path. One not defined by anger or past mistakes, but by her own choices. We can't fix everything with a hug or a few words, she said, her heart pounding. It'll take time. I don't know if I can ever fully forgive you. And that's okay, he replied gently. I just need you to know I'm not going anywhere. In that moment, she realized the simple truth his waiting didn't need to be a wall keeping them apart, it could also be the foundation for rebuilding what had been lost. She took a deep breath, allowing a sliver of possibility to break through. If I decide to come back, what will that look like? I promise to be patient, to take it one step at a time, he said. But just as a glimmer of hope began to settle in her chest, her phone buzzed again. The harsh reality of the moment pressed down on her like a weight. She glanced down to see another glowing message, this isn't just about you anymore. Sarah felt her heart drop, panic surging as she saw her mother's name flash across the screen. Maybe I can't put this off any longer, she murmured, her brow furrowing with conflict. Sarah. Her father's voice cut through the tension, pulling her back. If you need to go to her, I won't stop you. Just don't forget I'm here, waiting. As she stood there, uncertainty swirled inside her. Should she confront her mother and face whatever storm lay ahead? Or could she build something new, step by shaky step, with her father? The night deepened around them, and with it came the weight of her decision. What path would she choose, and was she ready for the fallout of that choice? The message glowed ominously on her screen. Sarah felt a lump form in her throat. Her mother's words echoed in her mind, a reminder of the chaos that loomed just beyond the threshold of her childhood home. She hugged her phone tightly, a lifeline but also a weight. Sarah. Her father's voice was gentle yet firm, drawing her attention away from the screen. She looked up into his sincere eyes, searching for any sign that their fragile moment might still be salvaged. But the reality of her mother's message loomed larger than both of them. "I need to go," she said softly, though a part of her wanted to stay. The warmth might have thawed some of the ice in her heart, but it wasn't enough to counter the instinct to confront the tempest that awaited. "All right. Just be careful," he responded, disengagement creeping back into his voice. "You can always come back." His words hung in the air, trying to bridge the chasm that had formed once more. She wanted to reassure him, to promise she would return, but those words felt like a lie woven from too much uncertainty. Instead, she nodded, forced a smile, and turned to leave, the fear gnawing at her insides. As she stepped inside the house, the familiar scent of lavender and cinnamon swirled around her. It wrapped her in a blanket of nostalgia, yet it crackled with a tension that had persisted for far too long. Her mother's voice rang out through the hallway, sharp and cutting, "Sarah. Where have you been?" She couldn't suppress the flinch at the tone. "Just out," Sarah replied, her heart pounding. "You have to stop disappearing like this. You can't keep running away." Her mother spat as she emerged into view, her face a striking tapestry of anger and concern. "It's not running," Sarah countered, frustration bubbling up. "I'm trying to figure things out." "And what about me?" Her mother shot back. "This isn't just about you anymore. You think you can keep dropping in and out of my life, and I'll just sit here waiting?" Every drumming heartbeat echoed the truth beneath her mother's words. Could she really keep dodging the complexities of their fraught relationship? The path to her father felt mixed with guilt. "I don't know what you want from me," Sarah said, tears threatening to spill. "You've always made your expectations clear, and I've always felt like I fell short." Her mother hesitated. Outwardly, she seemed strong, bolstered by years of independence. But for a second, Sarah glimpsed a flicker of vulnerability in her eyes. "You think I was perfect? That I didn't make mistakes?" "Mom, it wasn't about perfection. It was always about feeling like I had to choose between you and him," Sarah confessed, a lump forming in her throat as tension spiraled. "What do you want now?" Her mother's voice softened, her tone wrapping around the moment like a fragile thread. "I want us to talk honestly." The words hung heavy between them, a plea for a chance. Her mother's shoulders slumped, and for the first time, the facade crumbled. "Maybe we can start over," but their moment was shattered as a loud crash echoed from the other room. Sarah's stomach dropped. The noise sliced through the tension, replacing it with a rush of unanswered questions. "What was that?" They both asked in unison, alarm washing over their faces. As they exchanged worried glances, a new urgency filled the air. Sarah felt the weight of her decision shift once again. Facing her past, confronting her mother, or figuring out where her father stood, she couldn't follow all paths at once. "Let's check it out," Sarah said, fear and determination mingling in her voice. What lay ahead was uncertain, but she was stepping into the storm, ready or not. What was breaking behind those doors, and would it change everything? The two women shared a quick look before they moved towards the source of the noise. Each step echoed in the stillness of the house, amplifying their fears. Sarah's heart raced. It felt like they were walking toward a precipice. As they reached the threshold of the living room, the sight that greeted them made Sarah stop in her tracks. The antique bookshelf, a proud fixture since her childhood, lay toppled on the floor. Books were sprawled across the carpet, their spines bent and pages fluttering like fallen leaves caught in a gust of wind. Her mother gasped, her hand flying to her mouth, an expression of dismay pooling in her eyes. Why would this happen? Her mother whispered, instinctively kneeling to inspect the mess. I don't know, Sarah replied, a sense of dread curling in her stomach. Did you bump into it or something? No. I don't think so. I haven't even been in here. Her mother's voice trembled, disbelief marring her features. Then what the heck? Sarah began, her brows knitting together. It didn't sit right. In the back of her mind, a worrisome thought coiled itself around her. Was it actually an accident? Or was there something else at play here? A chill swept through her, larger than anything from the cool autumn air seeping through the cracked window. Help me pick these up, her mother said, her voice steadying as she pulled a book from the heap. This one, it's my favorite. I read it over and over while I was waiting for you to come home. Forcing her hands to cooperate, Sarah sank to the floor and joined her mother, the weight of their unspoken tension creeping back in. As they started clearing the scattered books, she caught sight of one that made her pause. It was a worn, leather-bound journal, the cover faded and corners frayed, but something about it felt heavy with secrets. Is this yours? She reached for it, feeling a magnetic pull. Sarah, no, put that down, her mother warned, glancing up sharply. Why? The defiance in Sarah's voice surprised her. It looks important. An unsettling curiosity ignited within her, the kind that overshadowed the worries that had been haunting her. Just leave it be, please. Her mother's face was pale, her eyes flickering with something that felt like fear. A deep sense of urgency rose within Sarah, stronger than the trepidation. Mom, if it means something to you, maybe I need to know. Can't we just be honest with each other? Not everything needs to be unearthed, Sarah. The sharpness of her mother's words stung, striking through the fragile moment they had begun to weave. But Sarah wasn't deterred. She could feel that whatever lay within those pages might explain the past better than they could ever articulate. With a quick flick of her wrist, she opened the journal. The pages were filled with elegant handwriting, spattered with little sketches and pressed flowers. It smelled like the attic, musty, yet nostalgic. Her eyes devoured the words, and they squeezed her heart. As she read, she felt the world fade around her. Stories of her mother, of her hopes and dreams, of moments that had shaped her and the choices that had forged their tangled paths. Everything she had blamed her mother for suddenly took on a new hue. Mom, she started, her voice wavering, but her mother, now on her feet, looked both furious and terrified. You have to stop this. Why? What's in here that you're so afraid of? Sarah shot back, the anger she'd contained for years bubbling to the surface. The moment hung in the air, poised on the brink. The air was thick with unresolved pain and the possibility of healing. Because I thought if I could just keep it hidden. Her mother's voice quivered, the facade again cracking. Hidden from me? Sarah asked softly, the reality crashing down with a sudden force. A new kind of silence enveloped them, one that could either bring them closer or tear them apart completely. Sarah's heart raced. She could feel the weight of the moment bearing down on her, as though each word would change everything. What happens now, Mom? She asked, voice steady, waiting for the answer. Would the truth fracture them completely, or could it begin to mend the chasm between them? As they stood on the edge of revelation, only one thing was certain: nothing would ever be the same again. The journal slipped from Sarah's hands as her mother took a step closer, her face a tumult of emotions. The air between them was electric, it pressed down on them like a weight. Uncertainty radiated from her mother, and Sarah could feel her own pulse pounding in her ears, the words of the journal still echoing in her mind. Please, just sit down, her mother said, voice firm but tinged with a hint of desperation. Let us talk. Sarah nodded, feeling as if she were on the edge of something expansive and deep, like a chasm waiting to be crossed. She shuffled to the couch, her heart still racing. Every ounce of her being felt both alive and terrified. Her mother sank into the armchair, her gaze shifting to the journal still lying on the floor. "That journal, I thought it was gone," she said, her voice trembling. "It was never meant for you to see." "Why not?" Sarah challenged, finding the courage to keep her voice steady. "It's a part of you. It's my history too. Don't I deserve to know who you are?" The silence hung heavily, thick with the weight of unspoken truths. Her mother looked as if she might cry, her eyes glassy, yet she held back. "There are things in there," that she hesitated, shaking her head. "You're not ready for them." "I'm more than ready." With each word, the frustration bubbled up within Sarah like a storm breaking. "I've spent my whole life feeling like I don't know you. Everything felt like a lie. This could change everything for both of us." Her mother's shoulders sagged, surrendering to a weight Sarah didn't understand. "There were things I did, things I had to do. I was trying to protect you, but I see now that I was just keeping you in the dark." A flicker of understanding sparked in Sarah's mind. "You made choices. We all have to. But that doesn't mean I can't handle it. I want to know what you've been hiding. Do you really want to open this door?" "There are moments in that journal that changed the course of my life," her mother whispered, voice breaking. "Moments I'd rather forget." Sarah leaned forward, her heart in her throat. "Maybe we can face them together. You don't have to hide anymore. We can walk through this as a family." A shuffle of footsteps interrupted them, startling them both. The sound of a closure door reverberated through the house as Sarah's younger brother, Tommy, wandered into the room, blissfully unaware of the tempest brewing. "What's up? You guys look serious," he remarked, a grin splitting his face. The innocence of his presence created a paradox, flooding the room with a surreal lightness that was so at odds with the heaviness that lingered. "Nothing," her mother said too quickly, and Sarah felt a pang of frustration. Why hide? Why pretend? But Tommy was oblivious, asking for snacks in that carefree tone only a kid could have, unconcerned with the current heartache. The normalcy felt like a cruel contrast, making Sarah plod a way to bring the gravity of their conversation back. As they exchanged brief glances, her mother muttered under her breath, "We need to talk about this later." "Yeah," Sarah replied, but the fear shadowed her excitement. Would they get the chance? With the unexpected interruption, every unearthed secret seemed more fragile than ever. Tommy continued chatting, laughter painting over the tension that had rained down moments before. But for Sarah, the laughter felt like a siren, and every giggle and innocent question served only to heighten her anxiety. "Okay, but we will talk," she insisted, firm in her resolve. As they gathered themselves for the mundane tasks of everyday life, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were balancing on a knife's edge. She could sense a storm brewing just out of sight, one that could either sweep them into chaos or bring them into the light. "What will it take, Mom?" Sarah finally pressed as they cleaned up the remaining books scattered across the floor. "When are you going to trust me? You've kept me in the dark for too long." Her mother's silence spoke volumes, and for Sarah, the uncertainty became an ache deep in her chest. Would the flood of truths ultimately strengthen their bond, or would it drown them? In that fleeting moment before they returned to reality, Sarah knew one truth deep down: the unraveling had only just begun. The afternoon sun streamed through the window, casting shards of light almost like a spotlight on the couch where Sarah sat. Thoughts raced through her mind, every tick of the clock amplifying her anxiety. Tommy was still munching on his snacks, his laughter light and airy, but it felt all wrong under the weight of the conversations that loomed. "Want to watch a movie?" Tommy asked, his eyes sparkling with innocence. "Not right now," Sarah muttered, her gaze fixed on her mother, who was lost in her own sea of emotions. "See Mon, it'll be fun. You can pick." Tommy urged, oblivious to the storm spilling over their family. "Tommy," Sarah replied, but the warmth in her voice felt strained. "There's a lot going on." Her mother finally looked up, eyes narrowing slightly. "Maybe later, honey. Can you give us a minute?" The firmness in her tone surprised both Sarah and Tommy. He shrugged but sauntered off, chatter gradually fading down the hallway. Once they were alone, the room felt suffocating. The image of the journal, pages fluttering with raw truth, hovered in Sarah's mind. "We can't keep avoiding this," she said softly, leaning forward again. "Just tell me what's in there. I need to understand." Her mother's expression hardened, lips pressed together tightly. "You think it's that simple?" "I think anything's better than the silence." "We've been tiptoeing around each other," Sarah countered, a mix of anger and sadness swelling within her. "It hurts, Mom. Not knowing you is like walking through a fog. If you don't trust me now, when will you?" Tears formed in her mother's eyes, and for a moment, Sarah felt a flicker of hope that her mother would finally share. "There are things you can't unsee. Secrets that have been haunting me. Telling you might change everything. Everything is already changing. Just look at us." Sarah shot back, gesturing towards the mess of their home, ringing with unspoken words. "I'd rather hear your version of the truth than build a life on your half-truths. That journal is a piece of you, a part of this family." Sarah, her mother began but stumbled over her own thoughts, words caught between fear and desperation. "Please," Sarah pressed, her voice cracking. "We're stronger than you think. I don't want to keep living like this, keeping each other at arm's length. It's not a life. It's just, existing." The turmoil in her mother's face softened slightly. She had always been the protector, the unwavering anchor, but now Sarah saw cracks forming. "Okay," she whispered, appearing small in her chair. "If I share, promise you won't judge too harshly." "I promise," Sarah said, the words feeling like a vow. "Just tell me what happened, what you've carried. Let me in." After a long, loaded pause, her mother took a deep breath, the air heavy with the weight of years. "It all started when I was around your age, but just then, the sound of the front door creaked open. Footsteps echoed down the hallway, and Sarah's heart sank as her father's voice filled the space. "I'm home." Moments unraveled in an instant. The chance for truths, the storm they were about to confront lost. Sarah's dreams of diving deeper into her mother's past faded like smoke. "Maybe we should just not right now," Sarah murmured, disappointment staining her voice. "Just keep this between us for now," her mother replied, a plea in her eyes that as her father entered with a smile, completely oblivious to the turmoil. Sarah felt an ache of frustration that threatened to surface. She could see her mother already retreating into the familiar pattern of avoidance. And as laughter returned, light and airy, Sarah wondered how many more chances they would have to dig deeper. Would they ever have the courage to confront the truths that could strip away every mask they wore? With a quick glance at her mother, Sarah resolved silently. She would not let this go. There had to be a way to navigate this storm. What if discovering those buried secrets held more than just pain? What if it brought them closer than they had ever dared to be? "Dad, can we talk later?" Sarah called out, the urgency piercing the simple joy of the moment. "Sure." After dinner, he replied, unaware of the fire that was about to ignite. As they sat down for the mundane evening routine, Sarah's heart raced. She knew the truth was waiting, just under the surface. But how long could they hold on to their secrets before it all unraveled? As the night unfolded, Sarah felt the weight of their unaddressed truths sitting heavily on the table along with the plates of steaming food. Dinner felt like a performance, each laugh carefully rehearsed, yet underneath it all, tension simmered. Her mother exchanged glances with Sarah, a silent plea for patience and discretion, while her father's easy chatter floated around them like an oblivious breeze. After dinner, Sarah found herself in a quiet corner of the kitchen, the darkness thickening like a cloak of anticipation. She took a deep breath, the air saturated with the scent of memories. This was the moment. She had believed that breaking the silence would be freeing, yet here she was feeling more suffocated than ever. Her father joined her, wiping his hands on a dish towel. "Need any help with the dishes?" "No, it's okay," she said softly, contemplating the weight of the conversation ahead. "Can we talk instead?" He frowned, concern flooding his features. Something on your mind? Taking the leap felt monumental. It's about everything. About the past. About this family. His brows furrowed deeper. Okay. He leaned against the counter, his interest piqued and genuine. Across the room, Sarah caught her mother's eye, a silent agreement to keep the door open. There are things we're not saying, things we haven't faced. It's tearing at me. His eyes softened as the urgency in her tone registered. I know I should be been better. I was lost, and I thought I could keep my distance to protect you from my failures. Protect me? Her voice rose slightly, the heat of emotion spilling over. You were not there, Dad. All those years it felt more like abandonment. And now she paused, emotions threatening to overwhelm her. Now you're here and it's not fixed. It feels messy, and I want to understand. Life is messy, kiddo, he replied, a little smile tugging at the corner of his lips. But I'm here now, and I want to work on things, rebuilding, one piece at a time. Her heart trembled between two worlds, the anger at the past and the hope for a future. But how? What does that even look like? Before he could respond, her mother stepped in, appearing more anxious than ever. Sarah, maybe we could just take our time. Not everything needs to be uncovered all at once. No, Mom. Sarah took a breath, frustration boiling to the surface again. This doesn't work. We can't just dance around it forever. What are you trying to do? Her father asked, a look of genuine confusion passing over his face. Open a door, she replied resolutely. I thought if we all talked, if we confronted what's been hidden, we could actually heal. Are you sure we want to dig up the past? Her mother interjected, her voice barely above a whisper, face pallid. What if it doesn't lead us to light? Mom, Sarah pleaded, tears pooling in her eyes. We can't keep hiding. Maybe what's in the past isn't just a burden. Maybe it's a key. Silence fell over the room, thick with unspoken words. Then her father stepped closer. I'm ready, whatever it is, he said. And so am I, her mother whispered, vulnerability clawing at the walls she had built. Sarah's heart surged with hope. What if we opened the journal together? Her mother paled but nodded slowly, fine. Together. The three of them gathered at the table, the journal a vibrant treasure chest now laid open before them. The worn pages beckoned, and as Sarah turned to the first entry, she felt the first real cracks forming in the barriers around their hearts. The ink spoke of dreams, struggles, and choices made in the midst of a chaotic life, choices filled with love and fear. Time became fluid. Each word shared chipped away at the shackles. Tears flowed freely, laughter mingled with sorrow, and something magical began to unfold. As they processed the words, Sarah saw them connect, pieces fitting together in ways she had never anticipated. This was a journey, not a final destination. They still had a long road to travel, but for the first time in her life, she felt like they were really moving toward each other, facing the future together, hearts bared. Truths embraced. When they closed the journal, Sarah knew they held the first precious glimmers of healing in their hands. We can do this, she whispered, a smile breaking through as warmth enveloped them. As they sat together in the gentle glow of the kitchen light, the unrelenting weight of unspoken burdens began to lift. They were not just a family, they were a team, equipped to navigate through life's challenges and discoveries. In that moment, hope blossomed like 1,000 fireflies, illuminating the path ahead, bright, messy, and alive. As the warmth of connection filled the room, the trio finally realized this was only the beginning. If you want to stay connected to this journey of transformation and deep connections, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to share your thoughts in the comments below. Leave a like to show your support for more amazing stories that inspire and uplift. And don't forget to share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to awaken the power of connection among us all.